This is homework 3.7 day 1. It's asking on some number 3 to write a cubic polynomial in standard form with these given ones. So I know that x is equal to 5, x is equal to I, and I also know that these have to come in pairs, so x has to equal negative I. So if we put those into factors, this would be x minus 5, x minus I, and x plus I. Okay, then to put it in standard form, I'm going to multiply these two together first. So that's x squared plus xi minus xi minus I squared. I squared is negative 1. That makes this x squared plus 1. Middle terms cancel. Multiply that by x minus 5 yet. Okay, it gives me x to the third plus x minus 5x squared minus 5, being distributing through. And technically, I should put the x squared term first before the x term. Okay. Number 6. I know that x is equal to 0, x equals 4 minus 3i, and that also means that x has to equal 4 plus 3i. Okay, so my factors are just x minus 0, or just x. And then this one would be x minus 4 minus 3i. This would be x minus 4 plus 3i. Okay, so if I distribute the negative through there, okay, I'm going to take these two and multiply them together. X times x is x squared minus 4x minus 3xi. Take the 4 through. Negative 4x plus 16 plus 12i. Take the 3i through. Plus 3xi. So those two cancel. Minus 12i. Those two cancel. Minus 9i squared. I squared is negative 1, so that makes that a positive 9. So it makes it x squared minus 8x, and then 16 plus 9 is 25. Multiply by this x out front here gives me x to the third minus 8x squared plus 25x. Okay, number 9. It says find a function p of x defined by the polynomial with these three answers that satisfies, that has to go through that point there. Okay, so first of all, let's find the polynomial that goes through this. I know x is equal to negative 2, x is equal to 1, and x is equal to 0. Okay, so this factors would be x plus 2, x minus 1, and x. Multiply these together, that's x squared minus 1 plus 2 would be plus 1x minus 2. Multiplied by that x yet 2 gives us x to the third plus x squared minus 2x. Okay, but it has to go through this point, negative 1, negative 1. So my output is a negative 1 has to equal a times whatever this is with negative 1 plugged into it. So negative 1 to the third plus negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1. So this would be negative 1 plus 1 would be 0 and plus 2. So I know that a has to equal negative 1/2. Okay, so my final answer is I have to take this 1/2 and put it in front here, right? So it'd be negative 1/2 times this x to the third plus x squared minus 2x, which gives me negative 1/2 x to the third minus 1/2 x squared, and that'd be plus x. Okay. Number 12. Same idea. We're given the zeros are x equals negative 7. X equals 2 minus I. So the other one has to be x equals 2 plus I. Okay, so our factors would be x plus 7 x minus 2 minus I, and x minus 2 plus I. Alright, so once again, I'm going to multiply these two through. So that gives me x, well, before I do that, let's take the negatives through. X minus 2 plus I times x minus 2 minus I. Okay. Multiply, x times x is x squared, minus 2x minus xi. Take the negative 2 through, negative 2x plus 4 plus 2I. Take the I through, be ix. Those cancel. Minus 2I. Those cancel, not that one. And then minus I squared. I squared is negative 1, so that makes it plus 1. So we have x squared minus 2x is minus 4x. 4 plus 1 is 5. You have to multiply that by the x plus 7 there yet. So that's x to the third minus 4x squared plus 5x. Take the 7 through, plus 7x squared minus 28x plus 35. Adding like terms, this one and this one be plus 3x squared. Adding those would be negative 23x and plus 35. Okay, but we know it has to go through, in number 12, it has to go through the point 19. So the outputs are 9, and our input is 1. Okay, so it has to go through here. So I'm going to plug a 1 to the third, because I'm getting it from right here. Okay, 1 to the third plus 3 times 1 squared minus 23 times 1 plus 35. Okay, I got to work that out. That gives me an answer of 16. And if I divide by that a, 9 divided by 16, and that, yeah, it's just 9 over 16. Okay, so now I know my p of x has to equal 9 over 16 times my original here. Okay, so p of x equals 9/16 x to the third. Let's see, 9 times 3 is 27, would be 27 over 16x squareds. If we take that times 23, gives us negative 207 over 16x, and 9/16 times 35 would be 315 over 16. With number 15, I know 3 is a 0. There's 3 different answers. We need to find the other 2. Okay, so if I know that x equals 3, I got to find 2 more answers. Okay, so I'm going to divide that 3 out of my answers here. So we're in 15, so it'd be 1x to the 4th. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm on number 15. I know my answers are 3 and negative 3. And then I have to find 2 more because it says it's x to the 4th. Okay, so we could do this individually, or yeah, I'm going to do them individually. Okay, I'm going to take a 3 out first. 1x to the 4th, 2x to the 3rd, negative 10x squared, negative 18x plus 9. Okay, so if I divide that 3 out, 1 times 3 is 3, and add, and 15 and add, 15 and add, and negative 9 and add. Okay, so I divided 3 out. I also want to divide out the negative 3. Negative 3, 2, negative 6, negative 1, 3, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so if I wanted this as factors, I know my factors would be x minus 3, x plus 3, and since I divided those out, this is what I have left. It was x to the 4th divided by an x the first time gives me x to the third, divided by another x gives me x squared. So this is x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay? So then from here, I need to find the other two answers here. So those come from this right here. Here I know this one's x equals 3, this one's x equals negative 3. And from here, it's not going to factor, but let's use completing the square, just to get a little practice with that. So I'm going to add the 1 to the other side. Complete the square. Half of 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1, so add 1 to both sides. This is x plus 1 squared equals 2. X plus 1 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. And subtract your 1 over, get negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. So we have all of our answers right here. Okay, now you could have, instead of completing the square, you could have used quadratic formula, you get the same thing. Okay, number 18. Same problem here. We know that x equals negative 5i as a solution, and if we also know that x equals positive 5i would have to be a solution, right? This have to be worked, and our answer has to be x to the 4th. Okay, so there's 4 answers. The degree is 4. So I've got to find 2 more answers. Okay. Instead of using synthetic division, I'm going to do this a little bit different way. S would be x. If I put the factors out here, these would be the factors, right? If I multiply these together, that's x squared. The outside and inside would cancel. It'd be negative 25x squared, so it'd be plus 25. I want to take that and divide it out of this. 2x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd, 55x squared. Okay, now the reason I have to use long division here is because remember, this only works when it's like an x. This is an x squared, so I'm going to use long division. Okay, so what times x squared is 2x to the 4th? 2x squared. So that gives me 2x to the 4th plus 50, whoop, not there, because it's 50x squared, right? Okay, and I'm going to draw my line and subtract. So those cancel. I have negative 2x to the 3rd and plus 5x squared. And bring down your other terms. Okay, same thing. What times x squared gives you negative 2x to the 3rd? So negative 2x. Gives me negative 2x to the 3rd, and then minus 50x. Draw your line and subtract. Those cancel, so you have 5x squared plus 125. Okay, and what times x squared is 5x squared? It'd be plus 5. Gives you 5x squared plus 125. And when I draw the line and subtract, I get 0 remainder. Okay, so I know that my factors are this times this times this. Okay, so to find my other 2 answers, I have to solve this right here. I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So I have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, 2 times a. Okay, so this would be what? 2 squared, negative 2 squared is 4 minus 4 times 2 times 5 gives you negative 36. This would be 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 36 over 4. Square root of negative 36 is 6i. And here I can divide it all by 2. So it would be 2 plus or minus 3i over 2. Okay, so we have our 4 answers. We got 1, 2 there, and 3, 4 there. Number 21, having coefficients with these zeros. Okay, so we want to have these zeros here. We want to put it into a polynomial. Okay, so if I know that x equals -3, x equals 2, and x equals I. Okay, so if x equals I also know x has to equal -I as well. Okay, so it's going to be an x to the 4th equation. So I just have to make the factors and multiply it out. Okay, so if I multiply these two together, that's x squared minus 2 plus 3 is plus 1i, not I, just an x, and then minus 6. Here, x squared, and that is xi, and negative xi cancel, negative I squared is -1, so it'll be plus 1. Then the last step we have to do is multiply these together, so it'll be x to the 4th. I'm just going to take this through. X to the 4th plus x squared, take the x through, plus x to the 3rd plus x, take the -6 through, minus 6x squared minus 6. So putting it in standard form, we got x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd, x squared would be -5x squared, and minus 6. Oh, I'm missing the, I'm just missing that x term there. Okay, number 24. Same thing here. So we have x is equal to -2 plus I, which means x has to equal -2 minus I as well. Okay, and then x equals 3 and -3. Okay, so we have x minus -2 plus I, and x minus -2 plus minus I, and x minus 3 and x plus 3. This will be x plus 2 minus I, x plus 2 plus I. I can multiply these together a while. It'd be x squared minus 3 and plus 3 cancels out, it'd be minus 9. Okay, if I distribute everything through here, x squared plus 2x plus xi, take the 2 through, plus 2x plus 4 plus 2i, negative xi cancels out, minus 2i cancels out, minus I squared. So this gives us x squared plus 4x, and then this would be -1 times -1 is 1. 4 and 1 give you 5. We have to multiply it by this one here yet. So take this through, be x to the 4th minus 9x squared plus 4x to the 3rd minus 36x plus 5x squared minus 45. So it'll be x to the 4th plus 4x to the 3rd minus 4x squareds minus 36x minus 45. Yep. Number 27. Getting really good at multiplying here. I know that x is equal to -1, x is equal to 6 minus 3i, which means also x has to equal 6 plus 3i. Okay, so my factors would be x plus 1, x minus 6 minus 3i, and x minus 6 plus 3i. this through. Cancels. Cancels. Okay, so this gives me x squared minus 12x, and then this is 9, and that would be 45. Multiply by this yet. X to the third minus 12x squared plus 45x plus x squared minus 12x plus 45 gives me x to the third minus 11x squared plus 33x plus 45. Okay, number 30. Okay, now this one says there's a multiplicity of 2, which means that 5 happens twice. So we're thinking about what the graph looks like at 5, right? It hits twice there. Okay, so I know that x equals 5 is a solution twice. And also negative 2i, which means it also has to be a positive 2i. Okay, so it's going to be an x to the fourth equation. There's 4 answers. Factors are x minus 5 and x minus 5, x plus 2i and x minus 2i. Okay, multiply these together. That's x squared minus 5x minus 5x is minus 10x plus 25. X squared minus 2xi plus 2xi cancels out, and that'd be minus 4i squared, which turns into be x squared plus 4. I got to multiply these together. I'm going to take the x squared through. X to the fourth plus 4x squared. Take the negative 10 through. Negative 10x to the third minus 40x. Take the 25 through plus 25x squared plus 100. Gives me x to the fourth minus 10x to the third plus 29x squared minus 40x plus 100. Okay, good. 33. Okay, we want to hand graph the graph here. We want to graph it and see what it looks like here, just by the information given, okay? So we know that if x plus 1 equal to 0, we know that x is equal to negative 1. So right there. 2x minus 3, set that equal to 0. You get x is equal to 3 over 2, which is 1.5. And x minus 2 equal to 0, you get x equals 2. So you know the graph's going to go through those three things. Okay? Since this is an x to the third equation, we know our end behavior is going to look like this. And it's going to go through our y-intercept at 6. Okay, so it's going to come and go like this, and I'm not sure exactly how high it goes or how low it goes, but it's going to do something like this. So we have our end behaviors and those points there. Okay, 36. Okay, so you know our answers would set this equal to 0. 3x plus 2 equal to 0, we get negative 2/3. Yeah. X plus 1 equal to 0, we get x equals negative 1. X minus 2 and x minus 2, because it's squared, we get x equals 2 and x equals 2, so we got a double there. So at negative 2/3, there's going to be an answer there. At negative 1, there's an answer there. At 2, there's going to be 2 answers there. Okay, so that's a double there. Okay, this is an x to the fourth, and it's positive. So it's going to go up, up. And our y-intercept is going to be at 8. Okay, so it's going to have to go something like this. And this is a double 0 here, right? So it has to just barely touch and come back up. Okay, so that's what the graph, we got our up, up from there, positive x to the fourth. and our intercepts there, and we got our graph. And the last one is number 39. Okay, we're also sketching this one here. Bring it into view for you. Okay, so looking at this graph, x minus 5 equal to 0, so we know x is going to equal 5. If I set x squared plus 1 equal to 0, I get x squared equals negative 1, and then therefore x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 1, which is plus or minus I. Okay, that's interesting, isn't it? 2x squared minus 1 equals 0. You get 2x squared is equal to 1. X squared equals 1/2. And therefore x equals plus or minus the square root of 1/2. Square root of 1/2 is 1/4. So we know it's going to intercept at 1/4 and at negative 1/4. Okay, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Okay, so it's 2x to the 5th, therefore it's odd. Okay, so the end behavior is going to look like this. Okay, and it's going to have a y-intercept at 5. Okay, so the graph is going to go something like this, right, coming up from the bottom. It'll go through here and then down through here. Now probably somewhere in here it goes something like this. Okay, so that kind of gets to that idea of that imaginary answer there, and goes up like this. But what we do know is that we get these 3 answers. 2 of them are imaginary, which we're not sure about. Okay, and we have our y-intercept. Okay, that is the homework.